Good morning, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining today's live stream. Today is December 19th, 2024, and it is the day right after FOMC. So we had FOMC yesterday, and during FOMC, we made the daily candles range yesterday is 1,050 points. We moved 1,050 points yesterday from FOMC. That's a lot of points. Yeah, so we expanded here a ton lower yesterday. So coming into today, I am anticipating, so based on how this daily candle closed, right? Based on that daily candle, I am anticipating for today to either take today's, so what I'm anticipating for today is either previous day low get taken, or we could end up consolidating, and we could end up creating a daily fair value gap, right? So the reason why I say daily fair value gap whenever we don't have a daily fair value gap yet, or daily SIBI, is because today I am not anticipating for prices to move another 1,000 points up higher, right? I'm anticipating for us to keep the daily immediate rebalance. Like I'm not anticipating prices to trade all the way back up into here. I'm anticipating for prices to, either consolidate or price lower. If we are going to if we're gonna move in one direction, I would favor it being bearish. However, during at least for the morning objective, I would rely on the 4-hour time frame and the 8-hour time frame for my narrative, right? For my objective. So based on how we are closing here on the 4-hour candle and the 8-hour candle will tell me my morning objective. So here we are going to close here on the 4-hour candle in about 23 minutes or so. So like I said, you can wait for 23 minutes and wait for that higher time frame, or that 4-hour / 8-hour time frame, to give us a morning objective. But as of right now, I'm just sitting on my hands and just waiting for prices to do its thing. But like I said, coming into today, I am anticipating for prices to take out previous day low or consolidate. And if we do end up consolidating today, that means that we will create a daily fair value gap, which could be retraced back into or could not. But if we do end up consolidating, for example, if we consolidate today and we trade back and forth, and we end up closing somewhere around here, right? If we close above this daily low here, the daily fair value gap that we create will be a fair value gap that gets rebalanced, that could be rebalanced. So let me repeat myself here. If we close above this blue line, the fair value gap, the daily fair value gap that we create will be a fair value gap that could be rebalanced. If we close below this blue line, then I would treat the fair value gap that we create on the daily time frame to be a breakaway gap, meaning I don't want to see prices trade up into it and leaving it open. But for right now, for this present moment, I would rely on the 4-hour time frame and the 8-hour time frame to give me my my bias. I do have a position going on here right now, and let me just show you guys here. So I actually do have a position on. I have 2 contracts here in the micro, and it is essentially a daily model, which is why you're probably gonna see like negative. You could end up seeing like negative 200 something points or positive 200 something points. But keep in mind that I am trading with the daily model. I'm trading with the daily model with the weekly objective, right? So on the weekly time frame here, there is a dealing range that we're within. So from this weekly swing low to this weekly swing high, there is equilibrium from that dealing range, right? And equilibrium is where I have my buy limit at. So I am anticipating for today, I'm anticipating for today's daily candle to retrace back into the weekly dealing ranges equilibrium level, right? But if we do end up consolidating today, then I'll just close my trade, close it for wherever it's at 3 o'clock. But for right now, I'm just gonna hold my trade here. I have my stop loss here at the 2-day. So I'm essentially based on the 2-day time frame. So each one of these candles is 2 days, right? So I'm gonna get rid of this equilibrium thing for right now. But based on whatever we're seeing here, notice we have a swing low. We retrace back inside a 2-day fair value gap. We expand higher. We took out this swing high. So now this swing low should be this swing low is a significant swing low, right? It should not be broken if we're bullish. So after prices trades below here and closes below this 2-day fair value gap, that I would consider as a market structure shift on the 2-day time frame. And where I place my stop loss is actually at the 2-day immediate rebalance. So I'm not anticipating for today to trade all the way up into here, right? I want to see us create a 2-day fair value gap, a 2-day SIBI. That's just what I'm anticipating here for today. So you guys saw my positions. I'm going to close it off just so I can have like a better view at prices. But yeah, there is a 2-day fair value gap here. Let me rephrase that. I have my stop loss at a place where I'm anticipating a 2-day fair value gap. I'm not anticipating for us to do a immediate rebalance here. So let me actually pull up. Let me do that. There's a discount. So there's that dealing range again, and I'm just gonna turn off the order so it's a little bit easier to see. But yeah, I'm essentially targeting my higher time frame objective here for this trade, for this daily model, is for us to retrace back into the weekly dealing ranges discount level, right? So why do prices move? Prices moves for 4 reasons. So to generate liquidity, to take liquidity, to rebalance inefficiencies, and to retrace into discount and premium. So prices, you always want to be a buyer, or prices is always going to seek discount to be a buyer, right? And prices is always going to seek premium to be a seller. And in this case, if prices wants to be a buyer, the most optimal area that prices wants to buy in is in this gray zone right here, or I'll make it green. So within that green box right here, prices are more drawn to this green box to be a buyer in. You don't want to be a buyer in this area, right? In hopes of, seeking higher prices. It's efficient for prices to trade back inside this green box, inside this green zone here, for better buys, right? You want to be a buyer in discount. So essentially, I'm selling short because prices wants to seek discount. So that's kind of what my my mindset and my thought process here is for this trade. Like I said, there's more confluences here, but that's just kind of like the structure. Some of the confluences are, like I said, on the 2-day time frame, we had a 2-day market structure shift. That means it's reasonable for us to seek lower prices because we just created that market structure shift. It's, we could end up seeing lower prices here now. It's reasonable for us to see lower prices here now. Another confluence is, notice that we have a large relative to the daily time frame, right? Because I'm taking my entry here on, or I'm basing my model here based on the daily time frame. I want to go onto a time frame relative to the daily time frame. So I would go from the daily time frame onto maybe the 4-hour, the 12-hour time frame, 8-hour, 6-hour, right? I'm not going to go from a daily model onto the 1-minute time frame. There's no proportionality there. It's too, like, you guys can kind of visualize it, but you can't go from the weekly order flow onto the 1-minute time frame. The 1-minute structure doesn't align with 1 week or the weekly order flow, right? So in this case, I'm trying to align a time frame with the daily candle. So in this case, my entry pattern here is actually at the 4-hour fair value gap here. And because there's displacement here on the lower time frames relative to the daily time frame, this gives me more of a reason. It's more of like a, hey, prices could continue lower here now. So this is a reasonable area for us to trade lower. And like I said, for every single trade that I take, I always require a higher time frame objective. And my higher time frame objective coming into for today is to retrace back into discount of this weekly dealing range. So I'm not basing my trade to retrace back into a 1-minute dealing range and taking my model on the daily time frame. That makes no sense, right? So I went from the weekly down to the daily. I didn't go from the weekly to 1 minute. I didn't go from weekly to 5 minute. I went from weekly to daily. So just keep that in mind. And then I went from daily to the 4-hour. But for the current objective right now for prices, you would rely on, the 4-hour time frame or the 8-hour time frame. And what those time frames are telling me right now is we could possibly create a 4-hour fair value gap here on the 4-hour time frame. This is the 4-hour fair value gap that we could create. And depending on how we close here on this 4-hour candle, so this is the 4-hour time frame. So depending on how we close here on this candle right now, if we close above the second fair value gap candle's high, so if we close above this blue line here, I would treat this 4-hour fair value gap as a breakaway gap. But if we close below this blue line, then I would treat this fair value gap as a gap that could be rebalanced. But yeah, like I said, coming into today, I have a rather bearish bias, but we could end up consolidating in order to create a daily SIBI. But if we take this in, if we look in terms of weekly power of 3, right? Am I anticipating Wednesday to be the low of the week? Wednesday could be the low of the week, but it's less likely that we will probably leave this as the low of the week. I want to see maybe today as the low of the week or possibly on Friday. But yeah, like I said, the weekly objective for me now, or the higher time frame objective for me, is to rebalance into that weekly dealing ranges discount level. But yeah, that kind of basically sums up everything that I have for today and this morning. Yeah, if prices doesn't complete the objective, at least the objective for my trade here is, like I said before, to retrace back into discount, then I'm just going to close my trade position at 3, and then coming into tomorrow, I would reanalyze what went down. But as of right now, like I said, today I took a trade, models on the daily time frame, weekly or higher time frame objective is based on the weekly dealing ranges discount level. Is there anything else I do want to go over here for today? So that basically summarizes everything that I have here for the current markets. I do want to go over some of the positives and negatives that occurred last week. So last week, some of the positives from last week is that every single trade that I took had a higher time frame objective, and I have already went over that with you guys. The higher time frame objective here are this list right here. Like I said, to expand and to take liquidity. Second is to generate liquidity. So generating liquidity, you can view it as us consolidating here. That's generating liquidity. You don't want to be in prices. You don't want to be in the markets whenever prices are consolidating, just generating liquidity, creating highs and lows, back and forth action. The third reason why prices moves is to rebalance inefficiencies, right? And fourth is to retrace back into equilibrium, which is my higher time frame objective for the trade that I'm taking currently. So second thing is being completely fine and being patient with the markets. The markets dictate when prices moves and where prices moves. I don't dictate where prices moves, right? If I had the ability to control where prices moves, if I had the ability to, control it to go up or control it to go down, I probably would be in like Greenland or Iceland right now, enjoying the wealth that I have accumulated being a market maker or something, but I'm not. So I have to be reasonable and I have to be patient with the markets. When the opportunities do present itself, I should be able to, be present and actually take the trades in the models, right? Third, grasping the fact that the result of the trade isn't extremely important to me. To me, what really matters is, was I able to execute on my strategy? Was I able to follow the rules that I have created for myself? And that is really what brings me joy, right? And fourth is paying attention to SMT between the markets, and I'll get into that more whenever we go back to the charts. But some of the negatives here are from last week. There were models that did present itself. However, I tend to be a overthinker where, I think a lot about different things, and just one of the things that I do is whenever I see a model, I want it to be, I need everything to be, in alignment. But sometimes I feel like that's just me being sugarcoating it, to me being afraid of. But, I have to continue to practice, and whenever I do see a model, right, whenever I do see all of the checkpoints get checked, so there's higher time frame objective, there's displacement on the lower time frames, everything looks good, I should be able to press the button, and that's just something that I'm going to have to continue to practice. Second thing that I could work on, just practice more consistent risk management. But yeah, some of the improvements here: consistent models, requiring every single model that I take to have a higher time frame objective, and for there to be displacement on the lower time frames relative to my model, right? So if I'm taking the model based on the daily time frame, like today, I should have displacement, or there should be displacement on the 4-hour time frame, 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour time frame, right? And yeah, aligning the time frames correctly. So for example, if I'm taking a hourly model, I would then, take my entry on maybe the 5-minute, maybe even the 15-minute. But if I'm taking a 15-minute model, I would go onto the sub 5-minute time frames, right? 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute for some sort of fair value gap to enter off of for a 15-minute model. Second thing to work on here to pay close attention to SMT. If prices isn't essentially if prices are not in alignment with each other, right? If ES was suggesting higher prices and NQ was suggesting lower prices, then I wouldn't take a model on either time frames, no matter, or on either of the indices. Prices or the indices should always be trading in alignment with each other. So NQ and ES should always be trading lower, and not essentially lower, but they should be they should be trading in tandem with one another. So the direction of each of the indices should be the same. Not exact to the point, but they should be in general to the same here. So like ES here is suggesting lower prices, and Q here is suggesting lower prices. So it's reasonable for us to be seeing lower prices. Third, to take every single opportunity that presents itself. So today, I saw a model, I took it. For practice consistent risk management, and that's basically all for the positives and the negatives and some of the improvements I could do for next week. Here coming into this morning, so notice how we're closing, or we could close. We actually haven't completely closed yet, but let's pay attention to here, to the 4-hour time frame, right? If prices can close above this black line, I would treat this 4-hour fair value gap. I would treat that 4-hour fair value gap as a breakaway gap. But if we close below this black line here, then I would anticipate prices to do something like this. You know, trade back into it, rebalance it. So that's going to give me my morning objective, right? So we are about to close in about 3 minutes or so we'll see from there. But if we were to close right now on the 4-hour time frame, I would treat this 4-hour fair value gap as a gap that could be rebalanced. So that means during that time window of the morning session, right, I would treat, you know, the next following hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I would treat those next upcoming 4 hours as I want to see lower prices. I want to see prices move lower to rebalance this inefficiency. Once we complete that objective on the 4-hour time frame, then I would, you know, sit in my hands and just wait for more time to pass. But as of right now, my objective here is to see prices rebalance this 4-hour fair value gap if we close right now. But we still have about 2 minutes left, so anything could happen. Let's go back to the 1-hour time frame here, and just pay close attention to this 4-hour candle here. And this is the 8-hour candle too. But yeah, that's my morning objective. That's kind of what I want to see here for the upcoming 4 hours. And after, like I said, after we rebalance the inefficiency, if we close below this black line, then I would sit on my hands or go on to a lower time frame relative to the 4-hour time frame for bias. But yeah, that's basically all I have here for today. About 1 minute left till we close here. So this is actually the 4-hour time frame as well. So I'm just gonna go on to the 15-minute time frame. So this is the previous 4-hour candle's high, and this is the 4-hour fair value gap that we are possibly going to create. But yeah, if we close below this black line, then I would treat, like I said, I would treat the 4-hour fair value gap as a gap that could be rebalanced. And And let me actually log into my account here because I just got signed up for some random reason. So here, if I were to take a model, what would my entry be, right? What would my entry pattern be to target this 4-hour low? Or this to target the 15-minute low, right? What would be my entry pattern? I don't actually have an entry pattern here, right? There's no displacement here on the lower time frames that I could take an entry off of. But yeah, notice how we just now closed here on the 4-hour time frame. So notice how we closed below this black line, right? So now because we closed below this black line, what's going to happen with this fair value gap? Is it going to be rebalanced, or should it be treated as a breakaway gap? For this upcoming next 4-hour for this upcoming 4 hours, I would treat this 4-hour fair value gap as a gap that could be rebalanced. So I'm bearish until we rebalance the inefficiency on the 4-hour time frame. So I want to see lower prices here. I want to see us, trade lower. But because there's no displacement here on the lower time frames, I wouldn't take this model. Even though I have a higher time frame objective present, there isn't displacement on the lower time frames to really give me that conviction and confidence to see lower prices just yet. But yeah, that's gonna be it for as of right now. Yeah, like I said, I want to see lower prices for the morning, and yeah, overall, like I said before, daily time frame, I want to see lower prices. Lower prices is, I want to see on the daily time frame us taking out previous day low. But yeah, so here we are actually extremely close to taking out or rebalancing the 4-hour fair value gap here on NQ. So this is actually, so we just rebalanced the inefficiency. So notice how, okay, so you guys will, let me show you guys a little bit clearer here. But, where did it go? Okay, so notice how we just traded back inside this 4-hour fair value gap, right? That was what I was looking for this morning. I wanted to see us retrace back inside this 4-hour fair value gap. After we complete this objective, right, what am I doing? Sitting on my hands. After we complete this objective, I would now sit on my hands and trade the lower time frames relative to the 4-hour, right? So what that means is I could go now from the 4-hour to possibly the 1-hour time frame for a higher time frame objective. I could now maybe go on to the 30-minute time frame for a higher time frame objective. But yeah, that's kind of basically it. That's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Oh yeah, let me choose a daily quote. So the daily quote for today . So let's see if ChatGPT remembers that it has to break down the quote for me. Nice, it remembers to break down. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Breakdown, power over your mind, emphasizes controlling your thoughts and reactions, which are within your control. Not outside, so reminds us that external circumstances are beyond our influence and shouldn't dominate our emotions. Realize this, and true strength comes from understanding this distinction and focusing on internal mastery. So that's gonna be the daily quote here for today. And I post these quotes. I post all my analysis on my Discord. If you guys do want to check that out, it will be in my bio, my YouTube bio. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until